Okay, back with another game review. This game has been terrible, very terrible. I did a blunder at the beginning because I moved too fast, and you will see it in a couple of minutes. As you can see, the accuracy is only 71%. Fortunately, my opponent did worse than me, only 62% accuracy for him, and we both did a lot of mistakes and we blunders and missed the key move. So let's start. Let's start with the game review. I played with black, and the opponent started the game with e4. If, against e4, as you know, I play the French defense. So e6, knight variation, f with knight in f3, and I push my d pawn to d5. White decides to push the pawn to e5, and I pushed my pawn, my c pawn to c5, gaining space on the queen side. Check with the bishop in b5, I block with the knight, and this is the first error. This is the first error, and yes, because I permit to the opponent to double my pawns. Bishop in d7, blocking the check is the choice of the engine. Okay. Castling. Now I play bishop in d7 because I want to play a trick that usually works at this level. And this is an inaccuracy. It's an awkward move by white that I didn't expect. And basically, here I moved very fast. Because usually this trick works because if white takes the knight, I can take the bishop because this pawn is not here and the bishop is not defended. If instead the bishop decides to if white decides to take my bishop with the bishop, I can capture back with the knight, and I gained the pawn at the end of the exchanges. However, with this move, the white protects his bishop, and so this trick doesn't work. So in the game, I blundered because now white can capture the knight with his knight, as you can see, and even if I capture the bishop with my bishop, white's bishop is defended, and white can capture back with the pawn in c4. So pawn takes bishop, and as you can see, I'm down a piece, an entire piece, and the engine evaluation bar indicates that white's advantage is +3. I continue my development, putting my dark square bishop in d6, attacking the knight. White pushes the pawn in d4 to protect the knight. And here I decided to move the queen to c7 to attack X-ray h2. And also because now I can take this. Let's make a random move. I can take this because after queen takes, I can take. So okay. Then the opponent played this suboptimal move, pawn in f4. Yeah, here the best move was clearly this, because now the knight is back to safety and h2 is protected. Okay, now I take the pawn. The rook is against my king. This is an inaccuracy, but this is a very uncomfortable position to play with, because White's knight is protected by the pawn, is centralized, and I want that knight to be elsewhere, and I try to kick it, but now this check from the queen landed. I block with the pawn. Knight takes. This is a great move. And here probably the idea was to capture, but I lose the rook, but then I can castle. The position is not so comfortable. White is +4. Okay, the game in the game I decide to attack the queen X-ray, and this has been a missed move by White, because White here can simply capture this pawn, because this pawn is pinned by the rook, and in this case the bishop is under attack. So it is true that here I can capture the knight, but the queen takes here. And the game can continue in this way. Of course, and then here probably. Yes. And the position is still bad. Back with the actual game. Missed move by White. I castle. And this is a blunder by White, because now I can capture with my queen. White decide to exchange queens. I don't understand why, because he had other options. And now the position not only is close to equal, but black is better, because now I can capture back the queen. The H file is open. Both my rook and my bishop are pointing to h2, and indeed white plays pawn g3 to avoid that I take the pawn in h2. And here I put my bishop in c5 because at the right moment I would like to do a discovered check by pushing the d4 pawn in d3, but I agree, as you can see in the top right corner, the chess.com coach says that your best move was to maneuver a knight to a more powerful square, because it is true that I need to centralize my my knight, and that bishop there in c5 is not doing anything. White decides to develop the bishop instead of the knight. Now I develop the knight, but this is a blunder that White didn't see, because he moved again the bishop, whereas instead the right move was to pin the bishop to the king, because now I can protect the bishop by pushing the b pawn, but after before by white I basically lost my bishop, and the only thing I can do is to make this move to double the rooks. Yes. In this case, the position would be terrible. I have double pawns. I'm down a piece. I've basically nothing here. However, the game went differently because White missed this key move. I attacked the bishop. Bishop White brings the bishop back to d2, and here my idea was this is a blunder, because again there is this threat on the bishop that I didn't see, but my idea here was to activate the knight and bring it in this closer to the king, and especially closer to the rooks, and maybe try to give a fork. White pushed the b pawn. I can bring back the bishop. Here again I have this idea of the discovered check at the right moment, with by pushing the the pawn in d4, but the right call probably would have been to bring back the bishop not in b6 but in d6, because it is more central. Because now White can push all his queenside pawns. this seems to be a mistake because I let the opponent push his pawn and attack my bishop. I can bring it back. Again, I can a push that, but this is an accuracy, and now I can bring back my bishop to a central square. And again, I can push at a certain point, I can push the d pawn and attack that rook in a1. I don't know why White did this move with the knight. Probably his idea was to connect the two rooks, but the knight on the side of the board is not very powerful. It's not doing anything because the knight now can't jump in b5 because the pawn in the a file protects that square, and the knight can't jump in c4 because there is d5 that protects that square. Here I decided to move the king, to step aside with the king, because I don't want checks from the rooks. Pawn push. This is I jumped with the knight in e3. The idea here is to that for me it's okay to for me it's okay to exchange pieces in this position, and White decides to take that pawn, but this is a very good move for me because I can capture back and then capture. Here, this is a blunder by White because now I can do this. Which I saw this, but I also see another thing. I saw this, which is eventually what I've played. Exchange the rooks, and then I was hoping this. Because now the rook is pinned, and I have the rook for the king, and I'm better than White. Of course, the best move was this, because now the knight can be saved. Here the best move for White is this, but still I can take, and bring back the bishop. Back with the actual game. White moves the king in a light square so that now the pawn in e3 can be captured. So I push my d pawn to protect the pawn in e3. I can capture the pawn in e6. The knight attacks the bishop. For me it's totally okay to exchange, so I attack the knight with the rook. The knight captures, I capture back, because now this pawn chain is strong, because The pawn in D protects the pawn in E3, and the pawn in E3 protects the pawn in D4. And as long as I'm able to protect the pawn in E5, the pawn chain is solid. White activates his king, and now my idea here is only to protect E5 and attack the pawn in A5, because then I can capture also the pawn in B6. Mismove by white. Here the best move was this one, because now white has chances to promote. And here I push my E5 pawn so that I can still protect G5 and keep the pawn in A5 under attack. Pushed by the H pawn by white, but now it's late because I capture back, he captures back, and then I start to push my pawns. White moves the rook, I keep pushing my pawns, move the king, and now the promotion is inevitable. Again, moves the white moves the rook, I go to promotion, he decides to give a check, I escape with a king, another check, I escape with a king, and then the final blunder, but it doesn't matter because the game is already over, because my e-pawn is close to promotion. I soon have two queens and one rook, and also the pawn in E4 will be protected by the queen, but that rook is hanging, so I simply capture the rook, and white resigns. Not a great game, not a great game at all, so let's go back and try to learn a few things. First of all, don't move too fast, because this is a stupid blunder in the opening. I wanted to do the usual trick, but I didn't realize that this unusual move by white, pawn in c4, is ruining my plans. So I should think for a couple of seconds more before doing a move. Okay, then in this part of the game it was a total mess, with hanging pieces, a lot of tactics, pinned pawns. But then I managed to reach an equal position, and now a few things. So here be careful, because the bishop is pinned to can be pinned to the king. So probably here one idea is to step aside with the king and put it in a file that is not open. Okay. Yeah, here probably the idea was to keep the idea here is to abandon the idea of discovered check, and just bring the bishop to safety in a central square. And now here I actually didn't miss the tactic, because I saw the fork with bishop in b2 attacking both the knight and the rook, but I decided for a more complex plan that is not that I'm not sure can work out because my whole idea was to exchange rooks and hoping for this one. That would be a big blunder. Whereas this is, as usual, simple chess. I lose a pawn, but I got a knight, and the engine says -3. And that's basically all. That's basically all for this game. See you in the next one.